China is now the last lifeline for Russia and for Putin personally. Putin, whose regime stands on the strength of his authority, now urgently needs some proof that somewhere in the world he is still taken seriously. The preparations in Moscow for Xi Jinping's visit have been thorough. The day before the meeting, the head of the Kremlin published an article which, in addition to pseudo-historical speculation, quoted Confucius and criticized the so-called hegemony of the West, and welcoming banners were set up in Moscow. And Xi Jinping did not fail. He directly expressed confidence that Putin would win the next presidential election as well.
I know that another presidential election will be held in your country next year. Thanks to your strong leadership, Russia has made significant progress in achieving the prosperity and well-being of the country. I am sure that the people of Russia will support you in your efforts.
The decision of the International Criminal Court to issue a warrant for Putin's arrest did not interfere with the plans of the leader. That is, China has officially expressed its readiness to expand cooperation with the regime headed by the organizer of the mass deportation of Ukrainian children. The Chinese Foreign Ministry called on the International Criminal Court to take into account the immunity of leaders of countries, although this instance has the exclusive right not to take into account such immunity.
The International Criminal Court must take an objective and impartial stance, respect the jurisdictional immunity enjoyed by the head of the state under international law, reasonably exercise its functions and powers in accordance with the law, conscientiously interpret and apply international law, and avoid politicization and double standards.
Whether Xi Jinping's visit to Moscow will affect a planned phone call to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is not clear, but the behavior of China indicates a biased attitude towards Kyiv. On the one hand, Beijing presents itself as an impartial arbiter interested in ending the Russian-Ukrainian war. On the other hand, since the beginning of the full-scale Russian invasion, Chinese officials have had 29 contacts with the Russian side, with Ukraine only 5. According to experts, China simply does not perceive Ukraine as an independent country.
China does not really define Ukraine as a subject. Well, Xi Jinping is not ready to put up with Ukrainian leadership on any issue, and I believe that the Ukrainian leadership has a clear understanding that China is not an ally for Ukraine and will not be a guarantor of Ukrainian security, and any negotiations are certain, not strategic steps in order to in fact show the true face of China and act together with our ally to deter both aggressors.
And while the war in Ukraine is undoubtedly the main issue of the meeting between Putin and Xi Jinping, it was hardly mentioned on the first day of the visit. Putin only thanked China for its balanced position and said that he was ready to consider China's peace plan. Traditionally, the first day in such meetings is ceremonial. Real results should be expected later. According to experts, Beijing may limit itself to economic support or, in the worst case, begin military supplies to Moscow. Reported by Sergei Kulas, Danilo Kobza, UATV News.